time to answer a few questions before we wrap this up today. First one. Bill, does Mac Jones start the season as a 49er? Well, right now it appears that he will. I think he's a guy who potentially could be traded to a team that acquires a need at the quarterback position between week 1 and the Tuesday after week 9, because who knows who's going to get injured. There was a year, 2023? They were dropping like flies. Some years, the injuries to starting quarterbacks are minimal. But that may be when the window opens for someone to trade for Mac Jones. And if the injury happens in training camp or the preseason, now quarterback injuries are typically rare in training camp because the quarterback can't be touched. I remember, 8, 9 years ago, Ryan Tannehill had the ACL partial tear from the prior year. They didn't get surgery on it, and he tore it the rest of the way during training camp. But other than that, it doesn't happen very often. Preseason, we don't see a whole lot of the starters. Get them out of there before they get injured. So I think an injury is the thing that would cause a team to make a move for Mac Jones. And the 49ers wisely signed him to a 2-year deal last year. Now, there was a thought that somebody would trade for him in the offseason. He played last year. He played well. But nobody was willing to trade for him to come in and be the starter. There were enough free agent options available. Why do you want to give up a draft pick to the 49ers? They'll put their thumb on the scale, try to get a second rounder. No, we'll just wait, because there were other guys available without the obligation of giving anything up to the 49ers. And who knows where Mac Jones really does fit. He started well with the Patriots. It kind of fell off. Is he going to be a career backup? Is he going to find a home somewhere and have a second act that sees him become a middle of the pack to top 10 quarterback? Who knows? But he'll be a free agent in March of 27. And I think at that time, especially if he plays some this year and plays well again, he'll be one of the candidates to go somewhere and compete to be a starter. Or at a minimum, the guy who arrives as the starter until 6 weeks later when the team uses a first-round draft pick on who they hope will be the long-term answer. All right, next question. From Jackslandia. What are your opinions on Arizona's quarterbacks? I know they drafted Carson Beck, and I personally am excited to see him, especially if he starts. Should be exciting stuff. Look, I think the Cardinals are tanking this year, whether they want to or not. They're in the toughest spot of any team in any division. They're the 4th place team with 3 Super Bowl caliber teams in front of them: the Seahawks, the Rams, and the 49ers. And their 4th place schedule this year includes a game against the Lions. Gee, thanks. Thanks for that. So I don't know whether they're doing this intentionally or whether it's just chronic ineptitude. After they released Kyler Murray, they made no effort to go out and sign a clear starter. And it was kind of confusing and vague in March and into April as to who the starter would be. They wanted to sign Jimmy Garoppolo. That didn't work out. They signed Gardner Minshew. He's presumably the backup to Jacoby Brissett. Brissett's not happy because he signed to be a backup, not to be the starter. If you're going to make me the starter, you got to adjust my contract. Now, who knows what that magic number is, but it's more than what he's getting paid to be the backup, and that's a fair position for him to take. So Brissett until all hope is lost, then Carson Beck to see what he has. And then the Cardinals end up with the number 1 overall pick in the draft, and they take Arch Manning, and Arch Manning says, no, thank you, to the Arizona Cardinals. So I don't expect much from the Cardinals this year. One of their players recently said they're in a position to surprise everyone. Yeah, it would be a surprise. It would surprise everyone. And this may just be one of those years. If you're not going to make the playoffs, why not embrace the suck, as the saying goes, and put yourself in a position to draft a long-term franchise quarterback if that quarterback will agree to come play for you. All right, next question. Tyvee Macklin. Which soccer teams do you support? If none, do you plan on supporting any after the World Cup? I've got that Liverpool jersey. It is the jersey. It's not the kit. The kit is the full thing. And if you wear the full kit, they call you a wanker. Sorry, London. That was the phrase that Alexi Lawless used very early on in the World Cup, prompting amazement from the folks who are more acquainted with a culture where that's not a word that you say. One time when we were live on Sky, Sims said it. I don't know if we were live, but the censor got nutmegged and it made it through to the broadcast. Anyway, I just enjoy watching it. And at some point I'll naturally gravitate towards someone. And because I have the Liverpool jersey, they're the clubhouse leader, or they're in the leader house, as Sims would say. You can tell I miss him. I've mentioned him twice now in the last few minutes. But hey, if anybody else wants to send me a jersey, I can be bought. I'm taking applications for which team I'll support. And I'm already planning, and I have a feeling this is going to be stressful and it's going to take a lot of work. There's a lot of soccer to watch. And it's not like football season per se, where you know when the games are. Sundays, Mondays, Thursdays, for the most part. I mean, we used to know when the games are. Now you do need to consult with the calendar from time to time. But with soccer, you've got MLS, you've got and somebody told me I pronounced it wrong, and now I don't know how to pronounce it. Premier League, whatever. The English League. Those games are all on the NBC family of networks, Peacock, etc. You've got the Bundesliga. You've got leagues all over the world. You've got competitions that happen from time to time. But I enjoy watching it, and it is the perfect thing for me to watch while I'm working. It's just great background noise that doesn't require constant attention. I can pay half attention to it when something big happens. I can focus on it when I know a big moment's coming up, a big corner kick, a free kick from just outside the penalty area, a penalty kick, whatever the case may be. I can pay attention. I can always rewind if I miss something big. But I plan on continuing to watch it. Liverpool for now. But again, I can be bought. Anybody wants to send me a jersey or a full kit? Maybe I'd wear the full kit all the way down to the boots. Next question. Oh boy, this is small print. Leedale, with the changes to Sunday Night Football, will you get a passport and Sims maybe try and come over for the UK for one of the games, then maybe use the Sky Studios for the evening and Monday shows? I don't have the passport yet. Sims already has one. He was over there in May. Here's the problem. Sims worked college football on Saturday. So it would be hard to get there on a Sunday that I'm not traveling to the game site, because they're going to let me pick and choose. And I've already gone through. There's like 8 of them that I'm going to go to. Current plan, subject to change. But if he can't get there, what's the point? So I'd like to come in the off season and do like a full week. We travel around the countryside. We do a show here, a show there, a show there. I really do want to come. And I want to come and I want to go to not one. Sims went to 2 Arsenal games when he was there. I want to go to like 3 or 4 if I can. I want to go to a bunch of different venues. I want to take in the full experience. I enjoy it that much. I'm already looking at the West Virginia University soccer schedule for games that I can get up the road to. August 7th, Friday night. It's an exhibition. It's a friendly against Pitt, although it's never friendly against Pitt. So I'll go to that one and hope they play Sweet Caroline so we can add our special twist on the refrain following one specific lyric. Okay, next up. Jeremy Dodd. Do lawsuits like Sunday Ticket or Brian Flores have an effect on the CBA negotiations? Not directly, because those are relationships completely unrelated to the back and forth between the NFL and the NFL Players Association. And it shouldn't have an issue. And here's the reality. If Sunday Ticket as we know it implodes and the NFL loses that revenue stream, has to reconfigure how it goes about marketing the out-of-market games, the players lose money too. If that money is gone from Sunday Ticket, If that fire hose becomes a trickle, that affects the players. 2 years ago, after the verdict was reached in the Sunday ticket class action with $4.7 billion verdict, that if it had become an official judgment, it would have been tripled to $14.1 billion. There was already maneuvering by the league to try to get the players to give back the money they had made from the TV revenues that contributed to the antitrust violation that blew up in the NFL's face. So that's looming out there too. So the Flores case doesn't matter to the CBA negotiations. Of course it matters, but it doesn't matter to the CBA negotiation, or it shouldn't. The Sunday ticket case does moving forward, and there's a chance that if there's a verdict, there's going to be an effort by the NFL, because they're not going to want to pay it themselves. They're going to want to foist it off onto anyone they can. Foist it off onto the networks, foist it off onto the players, foist it off onto the fans. All of a sudden, tickets to a game cost $10,000 because we got to pay off this $14 billion judgment. All right, I think we got one or two more. What's next? Noah Vincent, this is a question that was asked a couple of weeks ago, and we keep a little stack of ones that I haven't gotten to, and I'm finally getting to this one. Noah Vincent asks, what is one story or headline in the NFL that you feel isn't getting enough attention, and why do you believe it's being buried? Now, we recently talked about the Aaron Donald unretirement and how he's adding to the speculation that he will be back. But there's another one that I think we've just kind of forgotten about that I believe is still very real, especially if the Raiders come out of the gates the way they've come out of the gates in most years since they went to Super Bowl 37. I think Max Crosby could still be traded. And I know he now says he doesn't want to be. Now, that was before Tom Brady called out everyone, took shots at everyone. No one on the team lived up to the standard. I mean, if you're Brock Bowers and Max Crosby and you played most of the year injured, that probably pisses you off. We haven't seen a reaction from Crosby or Bowers. If I was either of them, after Brady painted with that broad brush and said every player failed to live up to the standard, I'd be pissed. And more importantly, if the Raiders stink again this year, if they struggle out of the gates, and somebody's calling about Max Crosby, I think he could still be traded. They've already stretched that rubber band. The only reason he wasn't traded is because the Ravens got freaked out by the physical. And I think it was eventually reported by ESPN that, at the end of the day, their concern was they weren't going to get more than a couple of years out of this guy. And they're giving up 2 first-round picks to get him. Oh, and Trey Hendrickson is still available. So I think we've completely lost sight of the very real possibility that the Raiders will decide it's in their best interest to trade Max Crosby. Crosby will decide it's in his best interest to move on. And that could happen during the season. You get a team that unexpectedly is in the mix. The Raiders, if they don't insist on 2 first-round picks, I think it could still happen. All right, that's it for today. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.